Welcome to Resilience and Resolve with Lance Drury.
Welcome back, everyone. On this episode of Resilience and Resolve, we're talking about the IRS's currently not collectible status. I'm Evan Mack with Lance Drury, and we'll explain what CNC status means and why it's only a temporary solution. Lance Drury, sir, welcome back.
Glad to be here, Evan.
Great. Look at sharp in that suit. We talked about it a little earlier, but I like this. I like this. I like when you suited and booted.
Well, maybe I'll have to do it more then from now on.
Absolutely. So, what is currently not collectible status, and can we talk about who qualifies for it?
Currently non-collectible status is when the IRS will not collect any monies from you. They won't levy against you because you've proven to the satisfaction of the IRS that it would be a financial hardship for them to come after you or to set you up on a payment plan. Now, it can be a permanent option, but it depends on certain factors. For example, if you're unemployed and you're seeking work, well, we don't normally try to get you into uncollectible status because once we get a resolution, our services are concluded, and then the client would have to come back and hire us again and pay us the same amount of money because we're back to square one when the IRS would pull them out of currently uncollectible status. Now, it's great for people that are older on fixed income, but surprisingly, what we are finding is that the IRS is pulling people out of currently non-collectible status for no reason. And we don't know why they're doing it. And then they have to hire me again to get them back in to currently non-collectible status. And so it's a great option if you're on a fixed income, you're never going to make more money. But, if you're temporarily unemployed, if you're younger, if you're sick for a period of time, you can stop the IRS from coming after you. But that's not going to be a permanent solution. And several years ago, I had a guy, got him into currently non-collectible. He had to hire me again because what had happened was he got a big settlement, and that showed up on the IRS's wage and income transcripts, but he had spent all the money. They didn't know this. He had bought a place, fixed it up, so there were no funds left. But he was a little irritated that he had to pay me again. But, that's just how the game's played. We got to do twice the amount of work. So when the IRS screws up, you still got to pay us for our time in that.
So is it typically people that are on like a fixed income that qualify for it? Or is there's what specific people qualify for it? Is it just typically you see fixed income? Does it matter what your age is? Who can qualify for the CNC?
Well, it's not just fixed income. There's a lot of people that don't make a whole lot of money, don't have any assets, and then they're going to qualify for currently non-collectible. And they're, for lack of a better word, their skill set is such that they're never going to make a lot of money. But then you have certain people that are temporarily unemployed, and that they're going to make money at some point, and it's going to be a substantial sum of money. And those are the people that you probably don't want to put into uncollectible status unless there's a levy that's imminent, because they're going to have to pay you again because you're going to have to start over from scratch and prove to the IRS that they shouldn't be able to collect any money against them.
So what kind of financial documentation is needed to even request a CNC status?
Well, they have to fill out the same type of form that you would fill out for any type of resolution, where you're not paying back the full amount. So you got to fill out the same financial statement that you would fill out if you were trying to get somebody in what's called a partial pay installment agreement. So basically, you have to disclose their assets, their liabilities, their income, and their expenses. And then you call the IRS up, you give them all that information, they do the calculations, and that's how you get them placed into currently non-collectible. Now, that currently non-collectible status has to be approved by a manager. Generally, it takes 15 days for that to happen, but guess what? It's the IRS. They're not doing their job because they don't have enough people. And so things fall through the cracks, and so they never get back with you because it never received managerial approval. And so that's one of the things that you got to wait on. But it's a good option for a lot of people.
What about debt, though? Lance says, does it still grow while someone is in that CNC?
It certainly does,
Wow.
because you got to run out the clock on collections. And so the debt grows because of the penalties and interest, the penalties for failure to pay and the interest. So it also continues to accrue, but it's a great option for a lot of people. And, sometimes there's only 2 or 3 years left on the statute for collection. So every day they're in currently non-collectible status, that's one less day the IRS has to collect against them.
What about liens? Can the IRS still file liens or take other actions while you're on the CNC?
Absolutely. And if a lien has not been filed, a lien will be filed when you're placed in currently non-collectible status. And sometimes when we tell people that they qualify, but a lien's going to get filed against them, even though the lien doesn't last forever. It's supposed to expire 6 to 9 months before the collection statute expires. Sometimes it doesn't, so then they have to hire us to get the lien released. But a lot of people would rather be placed in a partial pay installment agreement than currently non-collectible because of the lien. Now, if the liability is high enough, they're still going to get a lien for partial pay. The IRS has the discretion after your debt grows to more than $10,000 to file a lien, but a lot of times, if you're under $50,000, you can set up an agreement without the lien being filed unless you're granted currently non-collectible status. And the reason for that is that's the way the IRS perfects their lien. If they don't file the lien, somebody else comes along, does the proper reporting requirements, then their debt is going to take priority over the IRS debt when the time comes to collect.
So off the top of your head, how many times do you see that? What percentage do you see IRS taking liens out on people that you've represented?
Oh, I'd say it's a fairly high percentage.
Oh, wow.
Because that's the way they protect their interest. And what confuses people is they think a lien is a levy. A lien is not a levy. And I think we've talked about this in other podcasts, but the difference between a lien and a levy is an actual seizure of income or assets. For example, wiping out your bank account, taking 90% of your take-home pay. A lien is filed with the recorder of deeds in the county in which you live. It's not a seizure. But when your home's being sold, even though theoretically that lien's against all your property at the time the lien's filed and any property acquired thereafter, as a practical consequence, the lien only rears its head when you go to sell your house. So when people come to me, there's no lien filed and they're planning to sell the house, guess what? We don't get them an agreement until after they sell the house.
So what causes someone to lose that CNC status?
They're making more income.
Okay.
So, one of the things that can trigger it is if you go in, you make a lot more money, and they see that when you file your tax return, then they're going to send you a letter saying, hey, we need to re-examine this. You need to fill out financials again because we don't know if you're still a candidate for currently non-collectible status.
Now, we talked about this on a different podcast, the offer and compromise, guys. Watch that if you haven't watched it already. But is CNC a stepping stone to an offer and compromise or even another resolution?
Not necessarily a stepping stone, but what we do in certain cases is we'll get them into currently non-collectible status so that no levies will be filed against them. They won't have to endure a financial hardship. They don't have to worry about paying the bills because they're not going to have their bank account wiped out, and it's quicker. And then we may try to get them an offer in compromise, but the offer in compromise takes a year or longer. And so, because then they want, because with a currently non-collectible, you got to run out the clock on collections. With an offer in compromise, once the terms of the offer are fulfilled, liens go away, everything goes away, but you have to be 100% compliant for 5 years. So we're generally not going to file an offer, or we're going to advise against the filing of an offer if the client has a poor history of compliance, which means they have a number of years where they didn't pay their tax returns, because then they're practically wasting their money doing the offer, because what's going to happen is they're going to incur more liability and that debt's all going to go back.
So can we talk about legal strategy, perhaps? How can someone use a CNC as a part of that or a legal maneuver? When would you probably advise them to use that?
The currently non-collectible,
Yes, sir.
when they're older, they're on a fixed income. They don't make a lot of money. They don't have many assets. It doesn't look like they're going to make a great deal of money in the future. So those are the circumstances generally where we would advise that we go after the currently non-collectible status.
Mr. Drury, sir, you've been in the game a little bit. You got some time under your belt, sir. What's your
Now, how
favorite
did
thing?
you figure that out?
No, listen, it has nothing to do with your appearance, man. I'm just seeing the experience. You got multiple practices and things like that. No, what's your favorite thing about what you do?
I just enjoy running the business. I enjoy helping people out. I enjoy doing the initial consultations, although I'm getting out of some of the lower liability ones because last week I think I did more than 30 initial consultations with clients. And I enjoy sitting down with my attorneys, my support staff, going through the cases, monitoring those cases. I enjoy doing these podcasts. I also enjoy doing all the marketing and traveling to my various offices and growing the business. It's very gratifying. It's we have more than 1,000 clients in the office at any one time. I never thought that the day would come when I'd have 16 employees, more than 1,000 clients, 4 offices. And so, just helping a lot of people out, giving people their life back, their peace of mind back. You save their marriages, you save their businesses. Makes you feel good that you're able to do that for people.
And finally, what do you think is the biggest change out of all the years you've seen this different things? You know what I mean? What do you think the biggest changes? Is it technology? Is it the laws? Are people the same? What's your biggest changes?
I think for one thing is I've never seen the IRS as bad as they are now. They're making a lot of mistakes. They have a lot of people who are new to their systems and they don't get the proper training. I was told that by one of their managers once. You can call them up, and we know a layperson would know that what they're telling us is not true because we spend 50 to 100 hours or more every year just keeping up on this stuff. And so, that's the biggest thing is that the IRS now is just not responsive. Everything is taking so much longer. And it's frustrating to us. We have to spend more time on a particular case than we did before. And it's frustrating to our clients. But, our clients, for the most part, they hate the government. They don't want the IRS to be funded. But guess what? Then you have a problem with the IRS. You're not going to get the service you should have.
Yep.
That's why things take a year or two sometimes. I mean, an amended return, it's not uncommon for that to take 2 years to process.
It's incredible.
So everything is just taking longer. Powers of attorney, when I first started doing this, a week to 10 days, and they'd be processed. Now it's taking a minimum of 20 business days for the power of attorney to process. And that's come. Everything with the IRS now is taking so much longer.
Lance Drury, sir, it's a pleasure as always. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Evan. It's always good to see you.
Awesome. And thank you guys for watching. CNC status may stop collections, but it doesn't erase the debt. Visit lancedrury.com to make sure you're planning your next step. Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.